The Galactic Academy's cafeteria fell silent when the twin dragon girls approached Oscar's table. Daisy watched from across the room, her textbook forgotten in her hands. Everyone knew the Draconeer twins, Sarah and Kira, with their shimmering violet scales and wings that folded awkwardly against their small backs. Everyone also knew they were orphans, survivors of the Draconeer genocide that had wiped out 90% of their species. "Excuse us," Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible over the ambient hum of the station. Her sister clutched her hand tightly, both girls staring at their feet. Oscar looked up from his sandwich, an actual Earth sandwich with real bread, a luxury that had drawn envious stares all morning. He was 17, barely old enough to attend the academy himself. Yet something in his expression shifted when he saw the twins. "What's up?" he asked simply. Kira's throat bobbed. At 8 years old, by human standards, she should have been carefree. Instead, her golden eyes held ancient sorrow. We need to ask you something. Please." The surrounding tables had grown quiet. Daisy found herself standing, moving closer without thinking. This had to be stopped. Whatever the twins were about to ask, it would only end in heartbreak. "The adoption registry closes today," Sarah continued, her voice cracking. "If we don't find a guardian, they'll separate us, send us to different colony worlds." Oscar set down his sandwich. "I'm listening." "We know you're human," Kira said quickly. "We know your species is young, that you shouldn't be able to bond with Draconeer young. But we researched. Humans have this thing called found family, right? Where biology doesn't matter. We don't eat much," Sarah added desperately. "We can work. We're small. We won't be trouble." "Would you be our dad?" they asked in unison. The cafeteria erupted. Laughter from some tables. Gasps from others. A Vryn student's translator struggled to process the absurdity, spitting out garbled responses. "Impossible," someone muttered. "Humans can't pass the Guardian trials. Their lifespans are too short." "He's a child himself," another voice added. Daisy's chest tightened. She'd known Oscar for 3 months, since his arrival at the academy. Humanity was new to galactic society. Barely 50 years since first contact, they were seen as impulsive, emotional, dangerously short-lived. Oscar would be kind in his rejection, but he would reject them. He had to. Oscar stood slowly. At full height, he was unremarkable by galactic standards. No scales, no extra limbs, no natural armor. Just a lean young human in an academy uniform that somehow never quite fit right. "Let me get this straight," he said, and his voice carried in the silence. "You need someone to pass the Guardian trials, provide for you, protect you, and keep you together. And you're asking me because..." Sarah's wings drooped. "Because everyone else said no. 73 applications. 73 rejections. You're our last chance before the deadline. And we thought, humans are supposed to be crazy, right? Crazy enough to maybe say yes?" Oscar nodded slowly. Then, he pulled out his comm-pad. "What's the registration code for the trials?" The cafeteria went silent again. But this time, the quality of the silence had changed. You're not joking?" Kira whispered. "I don't joke about family," Oscar replied, still scrolling through his pad. "Daisy." She jumped. "What? You're good with bureaucratic stuff. What do I need to file?" Daisy's mind reeled. "Oscar. The Guardian trials. They're designed for mature species with centuries of lifespan. The physical challenges alone. What do I need to file?" he repeated, and something in his eyes stopped her protests cold. She found herself walking over, pulling up the forms on her own pad. 3 sections: physical endurance, mental stability, and resource security. You need to prove you can survive a simulated crisis, maintain psychological balance under stress, and demonstrate reliable income for the next decade. Minimum. The physical trial has a 92% failure rate. Someone called out. The psychological screening has made Vryn warriors weep. And you're a student. What resources do you have? Oscar ignored them, tapping through the forms. When's the earliest testing slot? Tomorrow morning, Daisy heard herself say. But Oscar, even if you somehow pass, the resource requirement alone, I'll figure it out. He looked at the twins, who were staring at him like he'd grown wings himself. You two eat lunch yet? They shook their heads mutely. Oscar picked up his sandwich, split it in half, and handed each girl a piece. Real earth bread, real protein, probably worth a week's stipend. Here. We'll need energy for the paperwork. Sarah took her half with trembling claws. You're really doing this? Filing? Yeah. Passing? We'll find out tomorrow. Oscar smiled, and it was nothing like Daisy had ever seen before. Not the easy classroom smile, or the polite greeting. This was steel wrapped in warmth. But I'll tell you what. You picked the right species to ask. Humans? We're really good at one thing. Hey, what's that? Kira asked, being too stupid to know when something's impossible. The next morning, Daisy stood in the observation gallery above the Guardian Trials arena. She wasn't alone. Half the academy had shown up, drawn by rumors spreading like wildfire. A human attempting the trials. It was absurd. It was doomed. The physical challenge began with a simple premise. Carry a 150-kilogram load across 50 meters of obstacle course. In standard gravity. While defense drones fired stun rounds. The record time was 8 minutes, held by a Korvaxi warrior with 4 arms and reinforced skeletal plating. Oscar looked at the weighted pack, looked at the course, and laughed, not nervously, genuinely amused. Something funny, candidate? The proctor asked. Just thinking about my dad, Oscar replied, shrugging into the pack. He was a Marine. Made me do worse than this before breakfast. The timer started. What happened next would be analyzed in academy tactical courses for years to come. Oscar didn't run. He moved. Every step calculated. Every roll and dodge flowing like water. When a defense drone got too close, he used the obstacles themselves as shields, thinking 3 moves ahead. When the pack's weight should have crushed his endurance, he kept going through what observers would later identify as pure spite. He crossed the finish line in 6 minutes, 42 seconds. The psychological evaluation was next, a neural scan designed to identify instability, aggression, or incompatibility with dependent care. The AI running the test had rejected candidates for harboring violent thoughts, for excessive ambition, for insufficient empathy. It took one look at Oscar's scan and printed a single word, APPRVD. The proctor studied the results, confused. This doesn't make sense. Your stress responses are off the charts. You should be a psychological mess. Now. Oh, I am, Oscar agreed cheerfully. But that's not what you're measuring, is it? You're looking for whether I'd hurt them, whether I'd give up on them. And that, he tapped the screen. That's never going to happen. The resource evaluation was the final obstacle. Most candidates provided financial portfolios, property deeds, family support networks. Oscar submitted a single document. Daisy managed to glimpse it over the proctor's shoulder. A contract with the Terran Colonial Defense Force. 5-year term. Hazard pay. Family-dependent benefits. You enlisted? The proctor said. Last night? Humanity needs soldiers. I need income. Win-win. Oscar's jaw was set. They'll fast-track my training to part-time, since I'm academy enrolled. I can handle it. You're signing up for combat duty to fund an adoption. Yes. That's insane. That's human. Oscar leaned forward. Are my resources sufficient or not? The proctor stared at him for a long moment, then stamped the form. Approved. Congratulations, Guardian Oscar. Try not to get yourself killed. In the cafeteria that evening, Oscar sat with a twin on each side, helping Kira with math homework, while Sierra drew pictures of Earth animals she'd never seen. Daisy approached slowly, still processing what she'd witnessed. "You're crazy," she said. Oscar looked up and grinned. "Yeah, but I'm their dad now. So crazy's kind of required." Sierra leaned against his shoulder, her scales catching the light. Kira had fallen asleep, with her head on the table, tiny snores barely audible. They looked peaceful in a way Daisy hadn't seen before. "Why?" Daisy asked quietly. "You could have said no. No one would have blamed you." 2. Oscar's expression grew distant. "My mom died when I was 6. Cancer. Dad raised me alone while working 3 jobs. Everyone said it was impossible. That he should give me up to relatives who had more resources, more time. He told them all to go to hell." He brushed a strand of hair from Kira's face. "You don't abandon family. Ever. That's what being human means." Word spread fast through galactic networks. A human barely more than a child himself had passed the Guardian trials in record time to adopt 2 orphaned Draconeer. The story was picked up by news feeds, analyzed by xenopsychologists, debated in political chambers. The Draconeer High Council sent an official communication. Daisy was there when Oscar received it, watching nervously as he read. His face stayed neutral until the end. Then he started laughing. "What?" Sarah asked worriedly. Oscar showed her the screen. "They're giving me honorary status in the Draconeer clan structure, and a stipend. Apparently, I'm an example of the strength found in impossible bonds or something." "You're a hero," Kira breathed. "Nah." Oscar ruffled her hair, careful of her small horns. "Just a guy who knows that family isn't about biology, or logic, or what's supposed to be possible. It's about showing up, and humans." He looked at Daisy, his eyes bright. Later, Daisy found the psychological evaluation in Oscar's file. She shouldn't have looked, but curiosity won. The AI's notes were extensive, analyzing his responses, his brain chemistry, his fundamental nature. The conclusion was simple. Subject displays characteristic human pattern: excessive emotional bonding, illogical sacrifice, refusal to accept defeat when protecting chosen tribe. Recommendation: approved for guardian status. Warning: subject will likely die defending dependents if threatened. This appears to be species-typical behavior. Ask N. 2. C. 2. Daisy smiled. "Yeah," she thought. That sounded about right. In the cafeteria, Oscar sat with his daughters, teaching them a human card game while they taught him Draconeer lullabies. Around them, the Academy watched and learned. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy with no natural weapons, no special powers, no ancient wisdom. Just an insane, beautiful refusal to let the impossible stop them from protecting the ones they loved. And sometimes, the galaxy was learning. That was more than enough. The end.